The vast emptiness of space was suddenly disturbed by a bright flash of light. Where there was nothing before, a massive ship now floated silently. Its sleek, dark hull absorbed the starlight, making it look like a piece of the night sky had come to life. This was the HSS Thunderbolt, Earth's most advanced battleship. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung Kim stood tall, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. The screen showed a stunning view of an alien space station. It was huge, easily 10 times the size of the Thunderbolt. Its shape reminded Jae-sung of a giant snowflake, with arms spreading out in all directions. "Sir, we've arrived at the coordinates," said Lieutenant Yun Ji-kang from her station. Her fingers danced over the control panel as she spoke. "Our stealth systems are working perfectly. They haven't detected us yet." Jae-sung nodded, a small smile on his face. "Good work, Lieutenant. Keep us hidden for now. Let's see how long it takes them to notice us." The crew of the Thunderbolt worked quietly at their stations. They were the best Earth had to offer, chosen from millions of candidates. Each one felt the weight of their mission. They were here to show the galaxy that humans were no longer the weak, primitive species the aliens thought they were. Inside the alien space station, life went on as usual. The Galactic Council, made up of representatives from the most powerful alien races, was in session. They discussed trade routes, settled minor disputes, and planned for the future of the galaxy. None of them knew that their world was about to be turned upside down. Supreme Counselor Yuna Park, an elegant alien with shimmering blue skin, was in the middle of a speech about energy conservation. Suddenly, a young aide burst into the council chamber. His purple face was pale with fear. "Supreme Counselor, honored representatives," he shouted, his voice shaking. "We have a situation." Yuna frowned at the interruption. "What is the meaning of this?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. The aide took a deep breath before speaking. "Our sensors have detected a ship in the restricted zone. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before." A murmur of surprise and concern spread through the council chamber. The restricted zone was supposed to be impenetrable. Only the most advanced races in the galaxy had the technology to enter it undetected. "Show us," Yuna commanded. A large hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the Thunderbolt, hanging in space like a predator waiting to strike. The alien representatives gasped and whispered to each other. They had never seen a ship like this before. "What race does it belong to?" asked a reptilian counselor, his scales changing color with his agitation. The aide looked nervous as he answered. "That's the most shocking part, honored ones. It appears to be of human origin." The chamber exploded with noise. Counselors jumped to their feet, shouting in disbelief and anger. Humans were supposed to be a young, undeveloped species, barely able to reach their own moon. How could they have built such an impressive ship? Back on the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung watched the alien station with interest. He could imagine the chaos their arrival must be causing. "Captain," said Commander Taho-jung, "we're picking up a lot of comm chatter from the station. They've definitely spotted us now." Jae-sung nodded. "Good. Let them talk. Let them wonder." He turned to face his crew, his eyes shining with pride and determination. "Remember why we're here. We represent not just our nations, but our entire species. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." The crew straightened in their seats, inspired by their captain's words. They had trained for years for this moment. Now, they would make history. As the Galactic Council argued and panicked, the Thunderbolt waited patiently. Its presence was a silent challenge to the established order of the galaxy. The humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. Inside the council chamber, Yuna Park called for order. As the noise died down, she looked at the hologram of the Thunderbolt with a mix of fear and curiosity. "It seems," she said slowly, "that we have greatly underestimated the humans. May the stars help us all." The Galactic Council chamber was in uproar. Aliens of all shapes and sizes argued loudly. Some waved their tentacles in the air, while others pounded their fists on tables. In the center of it all stood Supreme Counselor Una Park, trying to bring order to the chaos. Silence. Una's voice boomed through the room. Slowly, the noise died down. All eyes turned to her. "We must approach this situation calmly and wisely," she said. A tall, insect-like alien named Kix buzzed angrily. "Calmly. There's a human warship right outside our door. We should destroy it now, before they attack us." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, but not everyone agreed. An elderly alien with long, flowing hair that seemed to float in the air spoke up. This was Zora, known for her wisdom. "Violence is not the answer," she said softly. "We know nothing about their intentions. We should talk to them first." The debate raged on. Some counselors wanted to attack, others wanted to talk. Some even suggested running away and hiding. Meanwhile, on the HS Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung Kim watched the alien station closely. He turned to his communications officer, Sergeant Min Seo Kwan. "Any messages from them yet?" he asked. Min Seo shook her head. "No, sir. They're talking a lot among themselves, but they haven't tried to contact us." Jae-sung nodded. "They're probably arguing about what to do with us," he said with a small smile. "Let's give them a little more time to get used to our presence." Back in the council chamber, a new voice rose above the others. It belonged to General Dax, a warrior from a race known for its military might. "We can't just sit here and do nothing," he roared. "I say we surround their ship with our fleet, show them our strength." This idea seemed to appeal to many of the counselors. They nodded and cheered. But Una Park wasn't convinced. She raised her hand for silence. "And what if they see that as an act of aggression?" she asked. "We could start a war we're not prepared for." Her words made everyone pause. The room grew quiet as the counselors thought about what she said. Suddenly, a young aide burst into the room, just like before. "Supreme Counselor," he gasped. "We've analyzed the human ship. You need to see this." A new hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a detailed scan of the Thunderbolt. As the counselors looked at it, their faces changed from curiosity to shock and fear. "That's impossible," whispered Kix, his antennae twitching nervously. Zara leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Their technology. It's far more advanced than we thought." The scan showed weapons they'd never seen before, shields stronger than anything in their fleet, and an engine that seemed to bend the laws of physics. General Dax, who had been so eager to show force earlier, now looked pale. "If we attack them," he said slowly, "we might not win." The council chamber erupted into panic again. Counselors shouted over each other, some demanding immediate action, others calling for caution. Una Park stood in the middle of it all, her mind racing. She knew she had to make a decision, and fast. The fate of the entire galaxy might depend on what she did next. On the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung noticed increased activity around the alien station. "Looks like they finally scanned us," he said to his crew. "Get ready. They'll probably try to contact us soon." As if on cue, Min Seo called out, "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the station." Jae-sung took a deep breath. This was the moment they had trained for. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the face of Supreme Counselor Una Park. Her blue skin shimmered with nervous energy, but her voice was steady as she spoke. "Unknown human vessel," she said, "I am Supreme Counselor Una Park of the Galactic Council. We request a peaceful dialogue." Jae-sung smiled. It wasn't a warm smile, but one that showed confidence and a hint of challenge. "Greetings, Supreme Counselor," he replied. "I am Captain Jae-sung Kim of the HSS Thunderbolt. On behalf of humanity, we accept your request for dialogue." As the two leaders looked at each other across the vastness of space, both knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The humans had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were here to stay. The air was tense on both the alien space station and the human battleship. After the initial contact, both sides agreed to meet face to face. The Galactic Council chose a large meeting room for this historic event. On the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung Kim prepared his team. "Remember," he said, looking at each of them, "we represent all of humanity today. Stay calm, be respectful, but show our strength." Lieutenant Min-ho Lee nodded. He would lead the diplomatic team. Min-ho was young but smart, with a gift for languages and cultures. "We're ready, Captain," he said, his voice steady despite his nerves. The human team boarded a small shuttle. As they flew towards the alien station, Min-ho looked out the window. The station was even bigger up close. Its shiny surface reflected the stars, making it look like a giant space jewel. Inside the station, Supreme Counselor Yuna Park paced nervously. "Are we ready?" she asked her advisors. Zara, the wise elder, smiled gently. "As ready as we can be, Supreme Counselor. Remember, they're probably just as nervous as we are." The doors of the meeting room slid open. The human team walked in, led by Min-ho. The aliens gasped softly. They had seen images of humans before, but never in person. Min-ho stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Greetings," he said in perfect galactic standard, the common language of the Council. "I am Lieutenant Min-ho Lee of Earth. We come in peace and friendship." Yuna blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected the humans to know their language. "Welcome, Lieutenant Lee," she said, recovering quickly. "We are honored by your visit." As they all sat down, Min-ho noticed the curious looks from the aliens. He smiled. "You seem surprised to see us," he said. Kix, the insect-like alien, couldn't hold back. "How did you build that ship?" he blurted out. "Last we checked, you humans could barely reach your own moon." Min-ho's smile grew wider. "A lot can change in a short time," he said. He pressed a button on his wrist device. A hologram appeared in the middle of the table, showing Earth's rapid progress over the last few decades. The aliens watched in amazement as images flashed by. They saw huge cities, advanced computers, and finally, the construction of the Thunderbolt. "Impossible," whispered General Dax. "No species could advance so quickly." "Unless," said Zora thoughtfully, "they had help." She looked at Min-ho with sharp eyes. "Did you?" Min-ho shook his head. "No, Elder Zora. This is all our own work. Humans are very good at learning and adapting. When we set our minds to something, we achieve it." The meeting continued for hours. Min-ho and his team answered questions about Earth, human culture, and their technology. The aliens were fascinated, but also worried. "Why did you come here?" asked Yuna finally. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Min-ho looked her in the eye. "Because it's time," he said simply. "Humanity is ready to join the galactic community. We want to learn from you, trade with you, and work together for a better future." His words sounded nice, but some of the aliens still looked unsure. They whispered among themselves. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the room. Yuna jumped to her feet. "What's happening?" she demanded. An aide rushed in, looking panicked. "Supreme Counselor, we're detecting multiple ships entering the system. They're not responding to our hails." Min-ho's hand went to his communicator. "Thunderbolt, do you copy? What's going on out there?" Captain Jae-sung's voice came through, calm but serious. "We're seeing it too, Lieutenant. Looks like we've got uninvited guests." The room erupted into chaos. Aliens shouted questions and accusations. Some looked at the humans with suspicion, wondering if this was part of their plan. Min-ho raised his hands. "This isn't us," he said loudly. "We're as surprised as you are." Yuna looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "I believe you," she said. "But then who are they? And what do they want?" As if in answer, the main screen in the room flickered to life. A face appeared, alien and unfamiliar even to the council members. Its eyes glowed with an eerie red light. "Greetings, Galactic Council," the strange alien said, its voice cold and metallic. "And greetings, humans. We've been waiting a long time for this moment." Everyone in the room, human and alien alike, felt a chill run down their spines. They all had the same thought. The real test was just beginning. The room was silent as everyone stared at the screen. The strange alien's red eyes seemed to glow brighter. Supreme Counselor Una Park stepped forward, her voice shaky but determined. "Who are you? What do you want?" The alien's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "We are the Voiders," it said. "We've watched your galaxy for a long time. Now, we're here to clean house." Lieutenant Minho Lee felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the alien council members. Their faces showed fear and confusion. Clearly, they had never heard of the Voiders either. Suddenly, Captain Jae-sung's voice came through Minho's communicator. "Lieutenant, we're detecting energy buildup in the Voider ships. It looks like they're charging weapons." Minho's eyes widened. He turned to Una. "We need to get out of here now," he shouted. "They're about to attack." As if on cue, the space station shook violently. Alarms blared throughout the structure. The Voider on the screen laughed coldly. "Let the cleansing begin," it said before the image disappeared. Chaos erupted in the meeting room. Alien counselors ran in all directions, shouting and screaming. Minho grabbed Una's arm. "Supreme Counselor, we need to get you to safety," he said firmly. Una nodded, her blue skin pale with fear. "There's a protected command center," she said. "We can coordinate from there." As they ran through the corridors, more explosions rocked the station. Emergency lights flashed, casting eerie shadows. They could hear the sound of fighting in the distance. Meanwhile, on the Thunderbolt, Captain Jae-sung Kim was busy giving orders. "Shields up. Charge all weapons," he commanded, "and get me a link to that command center." The human battleship came to life, its advanced systems humming with power. Crew members rushed to their stations, faces set with determination. Back on the station, Minho, Una, and a few other council members finally reached the command center. They sealed the doors behind them and rushed to the control panels. "Status report," Una demanded. A young alien technician looked up, his tentacles shaking. "It's bad, Supreme Counselor," he said. "The Voiders have superior technology. Our ships are no match for them." Just then, a new voice filled the room. "This is Captain Jae-sung Kim of the HSS Thunderbolt. Do you read me?" Minho quickly activated the comlink. "We read you, Captain. What's the situation out there?" Jae-sung's voice was calm but serious. "It's not good. The Voider ships are tearing through the Council's defenses. We're holding our own for now, but we can't do this alone." Una looked at Minho, her eyes wide. "Your ship can fight them." Minho nodded. "The Thunderbolt is the most advanced ship humanity has ever built, but even we can't take on an entire fleet alone." Una took a deep breath. She turned to the alien technician. "Send out a distress call to all nearby systems. We need every ship we can get." As the call went out, they watched the battle unfold on the main screen. The Voider ships were sleek and black, almost invisible against the darkness of space. They moved with incredible speed, firing strange energy weapons that cut through the Council ships like paper. But the Thunderbolt was a sight to behold. It danced between enemy ships, its advanced shields deflecting attacks. Its weapons blazed, each shot finding its mark with deadly accuracy. "Incredible," whispered Zara, watching the human ship fight. "They really are as advanced as they claimed." Minho felt a mix of pride and fear. The Thunderbolt was impressive, but how long could it last against so many enemies? Suddenly, an alarm blared in the command center. The technician's face went pale. "Supreme Counselor," he said, his voice shaking, "we've detected Voider troops inside the station. They're heading this way." Everyone in the room froze. They could hear distant sounds of fighting, getting closer by the second. Minho looked at Yuna. "What defenses does this room have?" he asked urgently. Yuna shook her head, looking lost. "It was never designed to withstand a direct assault," she said quietly. As the sounds of battle drew nearer, Minho realized they were trapped. The Voiders were coming, and there was nowhere left to run. The sounds of fighting grew louder outside the command center. Minho Lee looked around the room, his mind racing. The alien council members were scared, but he knew panic wouldn't help them now. "We need a plan," Minho said firmly. He turned to Yuna Park. "Supreme Counselor, is there any way to contact Earth from here?" Yuna blinked in surprise. "Yes, we have long-range communication systems. But why?" Minho didn't wait for her to finish. He quickly moved to the communication panel. "We need help, and I know just who to call." As Minho worked, Captain Jae-sung's voice came through the speakers. "Command Center, this is the Thunderbolt. We've destroyed 3 Voider ships, but more keep coming. We can't hold them off forever." "Keep fighting, Captain," Minho replied. "Help is on the way." Finally, a new face appeared on the main screen. It was a woman with short black hair and a determined look in her eyes. This was Ambassador Soo-jin Choi, Earth's top diplomat. "Lieutenant Lee," Soo-jin said, her voice calm but urgent. "Report." Minho quickly explained the situation. As he spoke, the alien council members watched in amazement. They had never seen humans act so efficiently under pressure. Soo-jin listened carefully, then nodded. "Understood. I'm on my way with the diplomatic fleet. ETA 30 minutes. Hold your position." The screen went dark. Yuna turned to Minho, her eyes wide. "You have a diplomatic fleet." Minho smiled slightly. "We came prepared for any situation, Supreme Counselor." Just then, they heard a loud bang on the door. The Voiders had arrived. "We need to buy time," Minho said. He looked at the communication panel. "Can we broadcast to the whole station from here?" The alien technician nodded. Minho took a deep breath and pressed the broadcast button. "Attention, Voiders," he said, his voice echoing throughout the station. "This is Lieutenant Minho Lee of Earth. We request a parley." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a harsh voice replied, "Why should we talk human?" Minho's mind raced. He needed to say something that would make them curious. "Because," he said slowly, "we know something you don't. Something that could change everything." It was a bluff, but it worked. The banging on the door stopped. "You have 5 minutes," the Voider voice said. "Then we come in, no matter what." Minho turned to the others. "Okay, we need ideas. Fast." For the next few minutes, humans and aliens worked together like never before. They shared knowledge, compared technologies, and came up with a plan. When the door finally opened, the Voiders found something unexpected. Instead of cowering aliens, they saw a united front of different species. Minho stood at the center, next to Yuna Park. "Welcome," Minho said calmly. "We're ready to talk." The Voider leader, a tall figure with glowing red eyes, looked surprised. "Talk about what?" Minho smiled. "About why fighting us would be the biggest mistake you've ever made." Over the next 20 minutes, Minho and the council members put on the diplomatic performance of their lives. They talked about Earth's rapid progress, the unique strengths of each alien race, and the potential of their combined knowledge. "Imagine," Minho said, "a galaxy where we all work together. We could achieve things none of us could do alone." The Voiders listened, their expressions hard to read. But Minho could see they were interested. Suddenly, alarms blared again. The alien technician looked at his screen, his eyes wide. Multiple ships just entered the system. Minho's heart raced. Had the Voiders called for reinforcements? But then he saw Yuna's face change from fear to amazement. "Those aren't Voider ships," she said. "I've never seen anything like them." On the main screen, they watched as a fleet of sleek, powerful ships appeared. They moved with incredible speed and grace, quickly surrounding the Voider fleet. A new voice filled the room. "This is Ambassador Su-Jin Choi of Earth. Voider fleet, stand down immediately or face the consequences." The Voider leader looked at Minho, then at the screen, then back at Minho. For the first time, there was uncertainty in those glowing red eyes. Minho stepped forward. "So," he said calmly, "shall we continue our discussion about galactic cooperation?" As humans, aliens, and Voiders looked at each other, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. The diplomatic dance had only just begun. The command center was quiet. Everyone watched the main screen where the Earth ships faced off against the Voider fleet. Ambassador Su-Jin Choi's voice came through again, calm but firm. "Voider fleet, this is your final warning. Stand down, or we will be forced to take action." The Voider leader in the room looked angry. Its red eyes glowed brighter. "You think your ships scare us, humans? We have faced greater threats." Before anyone could respond, the leader tapped a device on its arm. Suddenly, more Voider ships appeared out of nowhere. They had been hiding, invisible until now. Minho's heart sank. They were outnumbered again. He looked at Su-Jin on the screen, worried about what she would do next. But Su-Jin didn't look surprised. She nodded to someone off-screen, then spoke again. "Very well. You've made your choice." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Earth ships began to change. Parts shifted, panels opened, and new weapons appeared. The ships grew bigger, their shapes becoming more menacing. The alien council members gasped. Even the Voider leader looked shocked. What are those?" Yuna asked, her voice barely a whisper. Minho smiled proudly. "Those are Earth's best-kept secrets. Transforming battleships." On the screen, Su-Jin continued. "Our ships can adapt to any threat. This is your last chance to surrender peacefully." The Voider leader snarled. "Never. Voider fleet, attack." What happened next was like nothing anyone had ever seen. The Voider ships charged forward, firing their strange energy weapons. But the Earth ships were ready. They moved with impossible speed and grace. Their new weapons fired beams of light that cut through the Voider shields like they weren't even there. Explosions lit up space as Voider ships fell one after another. In the command center, everyone watched in amazement. The alien council members couldn't believe their eyes. The Voiders, who had seemed so powerful before, were being defeated easily. "How?" the Voider leader demanded, turning to Minho. "How is this possible?" Minho looked the Voider in the eye. "We told you, humans are good at learning and adapting. We took the best ideas from every alien race we met and made them better." As they watched, Captain Jae-sung's voice came through. "This is the Thunderbolt. We're moving to protect the station." The massive human battleship flew into view. It positioned itself between the station and the fighting, its powerful shields glowing as it deflected Voider attacks. Yuna turned to Minho, her eyes wide with wonder and a little fear. "Your people, you're incredible, but also scary." Minho nodded seriously. "We can be both. That's why we wanted to join the galactic community peacefully. We don't want to fight. We want to work together." Just then, a group of Voider soldiers burst into the command center. They raised their weapons, ready to fire. But before they could, something amazing happened. The air shimmered, and suddenly human soldiers appeared out of nowhere. They had been in the room all along, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. The human soldiers quickly disarmed the Voiders. The alien council members looked on in shock. Ambassador Su-Jin's voice came through again. "Voider leader, your fleet is defeated. Your soldiers are captured. It's over." The Voider leader looked around the room. Seeing humans and aliens standing together, its shoulders slumped in defeat. We surrender," it said quietly. A cheer went up from the alien council members. They had won. But Minho and the other humans didn't cheer. They knew this was just the beginning. Su-Jin nodded on the screen. Wise decision. Now let's talk about the future. A future where all our races can live and work together in peace. As the fighting stopped and ships stood down, Minho looked out the window at the stars. He thought about how much had changed in just one day. Humans had arrived on the galactic stage in a big way. Nothing would ever be the same again. The real work, he knew, was just beginning. But for now, as he saw humans, aliens, and even voiders starting to talk peacefully, he allowed himself a small smile. It was a good start. A week had passed since the Great Battle. The Galactic Council space station buzzed with activity. Aliens of all shapes and sizes rushed about, repairing damage and preparing for an important event. In a large, newly rebuilt conference room, Lieutenant Minho Lee stood next to Captain Jae-sung Kim. They watched as aliens and humans worked together, setting up for the big meeting. "Nervous?" Jae-sung asked, looking at Minho. Minho nodded. "A little. This changes everything." The doors slid open, and Ambassador Soo-jin Choi walked in. She smiled at the two men. "Are we ready to make history?" Before they could answer, Supreme Counselor Yuna Park entered with her advisors. The room fell quiet. Yuna looked at the humans and nodded respectfully. "Shall we begin?" she asked. Everyone took their seats around a large round table. Humans sat next to aliens, former enemies now side by side. Even a few voiders were present, their red eyes dimmer now, less threatening. Yuna stood up. "I call this historic session of the Galactic Council to order," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Today we welcome humanity as full members of our galactic community." A cheer went up from the crowd. Minho felt a surge of pride. This was what they had worked for. Soo-jin stood next. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, we are honored to join you," she said. "We come with open hands and open minds, ready to learn and share." The meeting went on for hours. They talked about trade, technology sharing, and how to keep peace in the galaxy. The Voiders, now no longer enemies, shared their knowledge too. As they talked, Minho noticed something interesting. When hard questions came up, aliens often looked to the humans for ideas. Earth's quick thinking and problem-solving were already making a difference. Towards the end of the meeting, an old alien named Zorg spoke up. "I have seen many things in my long life," he said slowly, "but never have I seen a species join us with such impact. Humans have changed the galaxy in just a few days." There were murmurs of agreement around the room. Some aliens looked worried, others excited. Minho stood up. He hadn't planned to speak, but he felt he had to say something. "Change can be scary," he said, looking around the room. "Humans know this well. Our history is full of big changes, but we've learned that change also brings new chances, new friends, new ideas. Together, we can do amazing things." As he sat down, he saw nods and smiles from both aliens and humans. Even the Voiders looked thoughtful. Yuna stood again. "Then let us embrace this change. From this day forward, humans will have a seat on the Galactic Council. Together, we will build a better future for all our peoples." The room erupted in cheers and applause. As Minho looked around, he saw hope on every face. Later, as the meeting ended, Minho stood by a large window. He looked out at the stars, thinking about all that had happened. Jae-sung walked up beside him. "Quite a view, isn't it?" the captain said. Minho nodded. "It's beautiful. And now it's our home too." Soo-jin joined them. "We have a lot of work ahead," she said. "The galaxy is big. There's so much to learn, so many new challenges. But we're ready," Jae-sung added confidently. As they talked, more people joined them. Aliens and humans, standing together, looking out at the stars. Former enemies, now friends, all excited about the future. Minho smiled to himself. This was just the beginning. Humans had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were here to stay. The galaxy would never be the same, but that was okay. Change, after all, was what humans did best. As the starlight shone on the mixed group, Minho felt a sense of peace. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And somehow, he knew, it was going to be amazing.